theme was the idea of removing or stopping the process of the ego, meaning like basically killing off the ego within each one of us, and then focusing on the most authentic, highest form of being, which is supposed to be God, right? So it's pretty much like doing away with our human ego and being fully in awareness and in presence with God or with life or with the universe. There's two problems with that. One, when you detach yourself from the realities of this world, when you detach yourself completely from the opportunities that this state, this humanly state provides us with, you miss things. You miss out on chances to evolve, to grow, to know yourself in different ways, to explore yourself in different ways. So from a soul level, if the soul goes through this whole process and all this trouble just so that it can be born become an individual, a personality, I'm Fernie, it does it because there are certain opportunities that you gain from being that. So for myself, I gained the opportunity to be compassionate to people who are not always understood by society or who are considered deviants of society. And the reason why I can say that is because growing up a gay man in this world has definitely opened my mind and my eyes to the inequalities of this world. So whenever you see other situations in the world where someone is being mistreated, someone is being abused, someone is not receiving the rights that they deserve. You know, when you are experiencing and seeing those, you're in a really good place to be able, you're in a good position to take action on their behalf, and not only on your behalf, but on their behalf as well. And so you get to be a part of that because you understand it. A lot of people don't go and get involved in things that they don't really feel a connection to. So we have these experiences because they serve us on a soul level. And so for myself, I learned to have more compassion. I learned to have more understanding. I learned to be more considerate and to be more aware and to be more loving and generous to people who are suffering from inequality, whether it be their sexuality, whether it be their race, their religious affiliation, doesn't matter. But there's a lot of inequalities in this world, and so I'm more sensitive to it. And my experience as a gay man has made me sensitive to that. So I have more compassion because of it. Had I, years ago, before I developed my persona, my personality, before I allowed my ego to kind of pull me into specific directions, had I started practicing this detachment and disconnecting from the realities of this world, from the things that we feel a connection to, from the things that we associate with ourselves or that we assume as being a part of us, I wouldn't have that same level of awareness. I wouldn't have that same level of sensitivity. I wouldn't have that same level of understanding. I would have missed out on that opportunity. So when it comes to destroying the ego and getting rid of the ego, I don't agree with that because I feel that the ego serves a purpose. You know, the ego serves a purpose. You know, we don't all know what the spleen does. We don't go and cut them out just because it's taking up room inside of our bodies. So just because people have, especially a lot of these spiritual communities and spiritual masters, they have the perception and the idea that the ego is useless, it's a waste, it's going to take you away from God, it's going to take you away from the heavenly state, from the state of divine beingness, it's going to take you from your most authentic state. That's the job it was designed to do. It was designed to take you away. It was designed to consume you. It was designed to get you caught up in the story, get you caught up in the act, because that's what we're here for, to participate in the act. So I don't agree with that. I don't agree with just getting rid of the ego, getting rid of this, getting rid of it. To me, it's ridiculous. It's like, why get rid of something we were designed to have? It's there to be used. Let's use it. But it's all about balance, and that's what I believe in. I believe in the idea of having a balanced relationship with the ego, because the ego is going to continue to do what it's going to continue to do. And if we're not paying attention to the ego, or we're not focused on the ego, it's still there. It still exists. It's still going to continue to do what it's going to do. We're just not paying attention to it. And that's what a lot of these teachers try to teach, is just to avoid or just to pivot away or just to focus on other things and don't really buy into or become consumed by the ego. I agree to some level that that's okay, just not to do away with it, because we don't need to be paying attention to our ego 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It'll drive you insane. It'll make you crazy. It'll have you reacting to every single thing that happens in your life in a way where it'll feel like you never have peace. And that's the the thing about the book and the thing about the idea of that I do agree with. I don't agree with giving the ego complete freedom to do what it wants to do. No, the ego's like a dog. You have to keep it on a leash or it's going to go run loose and bite somebody. And so that's what the ego is so attached to our circumstances, so attached to our reality, so attached to the circumstances of our reality, attached to our history, or attached to our suffering. It's attached to all those things, but rightfully so. So if you find a balance and you can get that balance with the ego, you can use it to give you perspective, but not to allow it to run rampant and free without any control or any ability to be reduced, or to not have the amount of attention that it's gotten. Most people have way too much. They put way too much time and energy into what the ego wants, and so then we become too attached to the circumstances of our life, of this world, and then we become these people who are constantly suffering and reacting to stuff, and we don't ever find that inner peace. So that you can just get your ego on a leash, and you can find a balance where you can use the ego to your advantage without having to destroy it, or needing to destroy it to feel peace. I have an ego. I'm very aware that I have an ego. I don't have a desire to get rid of it or to do away with it. Sometimes my ego does get in my way or gets on my nerves because it does what it wants to do, but I know this. And so because I know this, I've learned to have a better balance with it. It's not perfect, but it's a better balance. And for me, that serves my purposes. That serves what I'm here to do more so than just being completely disconnected from the ego reality from that perspective, and fixating more on my full form, my full being state of source or God or whatnot. Because in that state, you can't really do a lot of the things that you can normally do if you do have the cooperation or the aid of the ego. That's my perspective on the ego thing. And I've said that before, but I wanted to repeat myself because I wanted to make sure you understood this.